Good morning. Man, what a stunner it is. Clear blue skies, cloudless, just beautiful.
Welcome to the next level. Woof Live.
Good morning, Mr. Ash. Good morning. Yes, how you doing? All right, let's get right into it. Long story short, last night I could not get Starlink running. Could not get this Gen 1 dish running, and this one that was donated by a friend last year, could not get that one running. Now, normally I could care less if there's internet out here or not, but there were some friends and family expecting me to call them last night to let them know I got in safely. They did not receive that call. So my original plan was to spend the day here on the property, showing you guys around, showing you guys all the updates, but those plans are changing. Priority number one is to head down into town, go to my buddy's house where there's internet, and let friends and family know that I'm safe. The last thing I want to happen is them to get worried, send a search party up here, search and rescue, mountain rescue, whoever, to make sure I'm okay. It really puts into perspective how well we have it in modern day society. In normal circumstances, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm okay. But out here, with no cell service, out here in the middle of nowhere, what would be a normal task is probably going to take a multi-hour, multi-calorie burning endeavor. One thing I do have going for me is hopefully that trail, the footprints that I set yesterday, kind of froze overnight last night, and hopefully travel out that trail is going to be a lot easier today. We'll see. But anyhow, let's get this mission started. What do you think, Ash? You ready for this? You ready for this? Yeah, you're ready. Man's best friend. Let's go. All right, about to hit the first snow of the day. About to see how this goes. Fingers crossed. No, buddy, we're going. All right, reached the road. Man, what a world of difference that was from last night. I think it was a combination of the snow setting up last night and it still being early in the morning, but the majority of what made that easy was not having 70 pounds on my pack. All right, so far totals 1 mile, 37 minutes only that took, as opposed to several hours last night. So gotta hike down this road, get to the ATV, drive into town, call friends and family, let them know I'm okay. Hi, yeah, we're all good. Yeah, I couldn't get Starlink to work last night, but just wanted to call, let you know we're safe. Come back up. Never have I ever hiked into the property empty-handed, and well, I'm not gonna start today. So I loaded up 5 gallons of gasoline and this water filtration system. Let's see how much this weighs. Somehow I gained 6 pounds since yesterday. I had a massive breakfast full of protein to repair the body after yesterday's onslaught. But all right, 174 empty weight. Let's see what I weigh with the pack. 220 minus 174, 46 pound pack. Definitely more manageable than yesterday. Let's get this hike started. Let's go, big dog. Let's go! Made it to the trailhead. Oh, all right. Well, the sun is directly overhead, just beating down. So I think this snow, slush, it's gonna be pretty difficult again. But what I have going for me is I've already traveled this trail twice now. So hopefully those existing footprints will keep me above snow. We'll see. Let's go. Right. Whew. Made it back. And definitely looks like there's some weather on the horizon. That is one tired pup. And one hell of a mission. Took about 5 hours just to head down in town and make a few phone calls, but definitely necessary to do. There were some worried people last night when we didn't check in, but those worries are alleviated now that I made those phone calls and let everyone know that Ash and I are alright. So some totals on that hike. Heading down to the ATV, 1 hour 24 minutes to get to the ATV, 2.6 miles. And then travel time to the house, make those phone calls, travel time back up, and then coming back up, 2.6 miles, 1 hour 46 minutes, half the amount of time as yesterday's travel up, 1,121 feet elevation gain, and 46 pounds carried. Oh, that has been a crazy couple days trying to get into this place. But now that I finally have a moment, I want to say I truly hope you guys are all doing well. I know some crazy things have happened in the world since our last episode, which I think was maybe 2019. And I truly do hope you guys are all doing well. Some interesting things have happened in my life for sure since our last episode. But before we get into that, I want to take it back to the beginning and explain what Wolf Lodge is, how this place came to be. And it all really started back in 2013 with one simple idea. The idea was I wanted to quit paying rent. And that simple idea of not wanting to pay rent and me wanting to buy a house led me to start saving money. And in the course of the next 3 years or so, from 2013 to 2016, I saved money. I saved close to 20 grand. And well, I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot in this day and age, but 20 grand back then, over a decade ago, was a decent amount of money, especially for a blue-collar laborer like me. So I saved money in order to buy a house. And when it came time to start looking for real estate, I quickly realized that 20 grand wasn't going to get me a whole lot. But I kept good faith and kept looking day after day, kept looking on real estate websites, and finally one day this property showed up on a real estate website. It came to market. And the listing read, hike or ski in only, listed for $25,000. I was like, well, that's in striking range for me. So I set out on an adventure to come find this place. And well, on April 1st, 2016, I stood on the property for the first time and basically saw this. Right away, I realized that this wasn't going to be a permanent residence. The logistics of getting to this place are just too immense to have this as a daily livable place. But upon seeing this place, it dawned on me that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity to own a place like this. And well, I made the decision pretty much that day that I was gonna buy this place. And well, the place was listed for $25,000. I bid $20,000, all the money I had, and the seller accepted it. So we went under contract for $20,000, and on July 11th, 2016, paperwork was done, and this place became mine. And what made this place affordable is one simple reason: there's no road access. This property is what's called an inholding in the National Forest Service. So I'm surrounded on all four sides of this property by National Forest Service. And well, legally, the National Forest Service has to give you road access into a property. But I went through all the research on what it would take to do that, and I quickly discovered it takes a lot of money for a road to get built 1 mile through National Forest Service. I mean, you have to get archaeological studies, environmental studies, surveys, permits, and all that. And well, back then, I had all the money that I had was spent on the property, and all the money I was going to save over the next couple years was going to be spent building this place. And so I decided back then, you know what? I'm just going to start hiking stuff in. And well, I can save money and get a good workout at the same time. And so still to this day, there's no road access to this place. It's a mandatory 1 mile hike through National Forest Service to get here. And well, I feel like that's what it's always going to be. I don't know, maybe there's some circumstance in the future where a road would be necessary, but as of right now, it's a hike-in property. And so after closing on July 11, 2016, came the work. And well, myself and some friends who really took a liking to the project, we just started hiking stuff in, and over the course of a few years, we hiked in over 10,000 pounds of concrete, which still to this day sounds so crazy when it leaves my lips. Yeah, we hiked in over 10,000 pounds of concrete, and the running joke is I used to be 6 feet tall, now I'm 5'9". But yeah, hiked in a 1,500 pound lumber mill, thousands of pounds of other tools and material, and still to this day, the hardest thing, that wood burning stove. And so over the course of the 6 years after closing on the property, we built this. And so yeah, in around 2021, 2022, this is what you see here is what we built. And that leads me to the next interesting thing that has been going on in my life, which that story actually starts right here in Wolf Lodge. So on the hundreds of hikes to and from the trailhead into the property, I've come across some pretty large animals on that trail. I've come across elk, some pretty large bears, and although I've never seen one, I've always seen the signs of mountain lions around. I've seen some prints, and I've definitely seen some scat around. So I started carrying a firearm on my hip. And well, after a few hikes back and forth with that firearm, I realized that I was constantly worrying about safety. Every time I set my backpack down, which is the holster was on my backpack waist strap, every time I set my backpack down, constantly worried about safety and, hiking with friends and family, just having that firearm on my hip, just constantly like always in the back of my mind. And I came to the conclusion that I didn't enjoy carrying the firearm. I like firearms. I like shooting them. No political or anything against firearms, but I just didn't want to constantly be worried about safety. So I stopped carrying the firearm. But I still wanted safety on that trail. So the idea actually hit one day on that trail. And so the idea I came up with was I 3D printed a hiking pole handle that accepted a pepper spray canister. And so on my hikes to and from that trailhead, I always had safety in the palm of my hands with my hiking poles. And so the concept kind of proved itself. I definitely felt safer having these in my hand than times that I didn't. So that leads me to the next interesting thing that happened in my life, which diverts away from this idea but then ties back in, is I ended up taking a caretaker's position at a restaurant on a ski resort. And the reason why I did that was the caretaker's position came with free housing. And so my duties was to look over the building and do kind of maintenance and cleaning, but I was able to live on a ski resort, literally on the mountain, rent-free. So I took that position. And so I was working the caretaker's position, which also gave me a paycheck, but then I was also driving a snowcat at the same time. So working 2 full-time jobs, living rent-free. And well, such an interesting, cool experience to be able to live on a ski resort, literally ski out my door and be on the mountain. But yeah, working 2 full-time jobs, living rent-free, mortgage-free, I saved a lot of money once again. So during that time period, COVID ends up hitting, and well, the money printing got out of control. So I was in a little bit of a pickle. I had money sitting in the bank getting devalued on a daily basis. I had to come up with something to do with it. And so, well, actually during that time period bought the property next to mine. So I don't know, Wolf Lodge number 2 is maybe in this story in the future. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet, but so now there's 10 acres on this property and then another 5 acres 1 mile to the south of here. But anyhow, the main idea I came up with to do with my money was, since I got so much value out of these, I thought maybe other people would get value out of these. So I decided to create a business and start producing this and see if other people get value out of these as much as I do. And so I created pepper poles as a business. And well, I spent a few years developing this product. This was version number 1 that I kind of created for myself. And then I developed version number 2. So yeah, this was version number 2, where it differs from version number 1, where the pepper spray canister is exposed on top. It still has this safety on it, but version number 2, I kind of put underneath a cap. And so when you needed safety, all you had to do, flip the cap, go from lock position to fire, and boom, spray. And so yeah, I loved learning CAD. I loved 3D printing. I loved the whole aspect of building these prototypes, but that's what these are. They're prototypes. And well, if I wanted to be legit in the market and have a legit looking and feeling product, I needed some professional help. So I went to Denver and sought the help of a professional company. And well, they came up with this beautiful hiking pole handle design. There was a professional product developer team that kind of took my idea of the cap and the handle and basically built this. Yeah, they built this beautiful prototype, and it still was a prototype at the time because they themselves were just 3D printing these. And while 3D printing is a beautiful process, it takes a long time. Just to create a handle like this takes about 8 hours. And so they suggested if I wanted to produce these on a bigger scale and faster, that I would have to buy a plastic injection mold. And so a majority of that money that I had saved living rent-free, working 2 full-time jobs, went to buying a $50,000 plastic injection mold that can spit these things out on a second-to-second basis. The rest of my money went to buying 3,000 sets of hiking poles, just blanks without the handle, and 10,000 pepper spray canisters. So the idea was born. Pepper poles. So the next step in my business venture was to learn sales and marketing. And well, my heart is in building, but I quickly realized that my heart's just not in sales and marketing. Believe me, I learned about it. I spent a lot of time learning all the tips and tricks, but that's what they are, tricks. It's very manipulative. And so the direction I'm taking my company right now is just to offer these things for free, because I hate sales and marketing but love building a product. Why not? I own the company. I bootstrapped the company, which means I paid for everything out of pocket, no investors, no debt. I own all the materials to make these outright, so why not? Right now you can go on pepperpoles.com and just cover the price of shipping, and I'd absolutely love and be honored to make you guys a pair. These are version 4 now, so they got the rubberized grip. The version before this was just the bare handle, and well, the people who have used these, you know, they suggested the rubberized grip, so now they come with this rubberized grip. And so that's what I've been doing with my life for the last couple years. I built this place and then built a product. Hi, buddy. Yeah, so now that Pepper Poles is a company and on the market, that leaves me with a little bit more time to spend out here. And well, that's what the starting of these episodes are all about, is me just enjoying being out here again and doing what I love, filming and telling the story of this place. And so Pepper Poles kind of intertwines with that. I want to bring out all the raw materials that I use to make these out here, because right now I'm paying rent on a place where I'm manufacturing these. And well, I'm just gonna hike all the material to build these out here for free, you know, store the material for free, not pay rent at some place building these. I'm gonna build them out here. And so the Pepper Pole story intertwines with the Wolf Lodge story. So if you want a pair, go to pepperpoles.com, cover shipping, and I'll build you your own pair right here at Wolf Lodge. And so that's my plan for the summer, is to be up here on a weekly basis, to film and release a weekly episode and build this product for whoever may want a pair. And that leads me to the last thing I want to cover, which is just the updates on what's happened up here since the last episode. And well, it's not much, because after building this place, the time that I spent up here was just enjoying it. Not a whole lot of building went on since the last episode, and a lot of my time was spent building this product. So it's not a lot, but there are some changes, and I'm sure you might have spotted out a couple already, but let's go through them. And so yeah, we'll start here on the inside of the structure, which really the only thing that's happened is I covered the walls in these beautiful shiplap style boards. And so that leads me to the exterior of the building, which really the only thing that's happened to the exterior since the last episode is the building of this deck. And well, I think it turned out beautiful. I loved building it. A set of stairs going down this way to the left, and then this stadium seating out front that looks at the view. And then on the opposite side, a set of stairs going down this way. Kind of shaped it almost like half a pyramid shape. And both corners are tied in with these beautiful rock beds that I had some help with friends and family building. And you can kind of see some remnants of some old flowers that some friends planted last year. Hopefully some start to come back. I mean, starting to see some greenery pop up in here, but I'm really hoping that these beds on both corners start to fill up with some beautiful plants and greenery. That storm that was rolling in earlier was bringing some cold air in, but it is definitely cleared out now. The sun is out, making things pretty scorching. I want to go over just a couple more things, but I'm going to do that while seeking some shade up in the woods. Yeah, much more cooler over here, huh, buddy? Yeah. Seeking some shade definitely is a lot better than that sun is blazing right now, which is good. Hopefully it'll melt some of that snow on that trail. So the next thing I want to go over is my goals and ideas for the summer up here. And it starts with an itch in my life that I've never been able to scratch. And that is, I'd love to grow my own food, and I'd love to do it out here. Now the idea may seem simple, grow food, but bear in mind what it's like out here. It took me 5 hours just to be able to tell someone that I was okay. What's it gonna take to grow food out here with no road access and off-grid living? Will it happen? Can it happen? I'm up for the challenge. I haven't failed yet out here, but at the very least, I can promise you it's gonna be entertaining. So that's the big goal, grow my own food out here. What are my short-term goals over the next couple weeks? So obviously I'm gonna have to build a greenhouse. The growing season is so short out here, and to extend that to make anything grow, I'm gonna have to build some sort of structure, a greenhouse. And well, I've seen other people in the area do it, and people are using some pretty interesting out of the box thinking, like using an earth battery, for example. An earth battery is you just dig down into the ground where the earth stays a constant temperature, and during your coldest nights you're using a network of piping down there to bring up that warm air and heat your greenhouse that way. So I had similar idea. That's why I bought the excavator. Short-term goal over the next couple weeks, get that excavator in. What's that going to take? I can't bring it in on the trail. It's way too steep over there. But I have brought in snowmobiles before, higher up on the mountain, brought down into the property. I'm going to explore that idea. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to go scout some locations on routes to bring that excavator in. So that's a goal. The lumber mill has been neglected over the last couple of years. It's not even in working condition. So I got to get a parts list together for that thing. And the list is just going to grow and grow as I try to figure out what it's going to take to grow my own food out here. But that's the big idea for this summer. So at the very least, for entertainment value, it's going to be worth following along. I promise you that. All right, the sun is about 5 fingers from the horizon, so I'm going to start making dinner. Yeah, so this is what I hiked out today. A water distiller. This is what I chose for my water purifying process out here this summer. I researched a lot of ways to purify water, RO systems being one, but man, the 1-to-1 waste ratio just isn't viable out here, especially with water being such a limited resource in the summertime. Yeah, for every 1 gallon they purify, they waste a gallon. Some of the newer systems are a lot better in that ratio, but wasting water just isn't a viable option. So RO system was out. Gravity fed filters, man, there are a lot of mixed reviews on those lately. Some companies are being sued for misleading information on their water filters. Distilling water just seems like such an interesting process that I want to learn. So this is my first time giving it a shot. See what happens. So I got that part chocked full of snow. Hopefully that's going to turn into water and then boil. The steam will come up and hit this coil. Now this coil, to turn the steam back into water, needs to be cooled. So I'm going to get some more snow over there and hopefully cool that coil. Hopefully, we will start to see water come out of this point sometime soon. I have a feeling it's going to take quite a while, but we'll see.
And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? And on the other hand, have you noticed how a man who's a failure tends to continue to fail? Well, it's because of goals. Some of us have goals, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's that simple. Think of a ship leaving a harbor, and think of it with the complete voyage mapped out and planned. The captain and crew know exactly where it's going and how long it'll take. It has a definite goal. Now, 9,999 times out of 10,000, it will get to where it started out to get. Now let's take another ship, just like the first, only let's not put a crew on it or a captain at the helm. Let's give it no aiming point, no goal, no destination. We just start the engines and let it go. I think you'll agree with me that if it gets out of the harbor at all, it will either sink or wind up on some deserted beach, a derelict. It can't go anyplace because it has no destination and no guidance, and it's the same with a human being. Why do men with goals succeed in life and men without them fail? Well, let me tell you something which, if you really understand it, will alter your life immediately. If you understand completely what I'm going to tell you from this moment on, your life will never be the same again. You'll suddenly find that good luck just seems to be attracted to you. The things you want just seem to fall in line, and from now on you won't have the problems, the worries, the gnawing lump of anxiety that perhaps you've experienced before. Doubt, fear, well, they'll be things of the past. Here's the key to success, and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. Now it stands to reason that a person who's thinking about a concrete and worthwhile goal is going to reach it, because that's what he's thinking about, and we become what we think about. Conversely, the man who has no goal, who doesn't know where he's going, and whose thoughts must therefore be thoughts of confusion and anxiety and fear and worry, becomes what he thinks about. His life becomes one of frustration and fear and anxiety and worry. And if he thinks about nothing, he becomes nothing. Now, how does it work? Why do we become what we think about? Well, I'll tell you how it works as far as we know. Now, to do this, I want to tell you about a situation that parallels the human mind. Suppose a farmer has some land, and it's good, fertile land. Now the land gives the farmer a choice. He may plant in that land whatever he chooses. The land doesn't care. It's up to the farmer to make the decision. Now remember, we're comparing the human mind with the land because the mind, like the land, doesn't care what you plant in it. It will return what you plant, but it doesn't care what you plant. Now let's say that the farmer has two seeds in his hand. One is a seed of corn, the other is nightshade, a deadly poison. He digs two little holes in the earth and he plants both seeds, one corn, the other nightshade. He covers up the holes, waters, and takes care of the land, and what will happen? Invariably, the land will return what's planted. As it's written in the Bible, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Now remember, the land doesn't care. It'll return poison in just as wonderful abundance as it will corn. So up come the two plants, one corn, one poison. Now the human mind is far more fertile, far more incredible and mysterious than the land, but it works the same way. It doesn't care what we plant. Success, failure. A concrete, worthwhile goal, or confusion. Misunderstanding, fear, anxiety, and so on. But what we plant, it must return to us. Plant your goal in your mind. It's the most important decision you ever make in your entire life. All you've got to do is plant that seed in your mind, care for it, work steadily toward your goal, and it will become a reality. It not only will, there's no way that it cannot. You see, that's a law, like the laws of Sir Isaac Newton, the laws of gravity. If you get on top of a building and jump off, you'll always go down, you'll never go up, and it's the same with all the other laws of nature. They always work. They're inflexible. Think about your goal in a relaxed, positive way. Picture yourself in your mind's eye as having already achieved this goal. See yourself doing the things you will be doing when you've reached your goal. Start today. You have nothing to lose, but you have a whole life to win.